The average woman puts 168 chemicals on her face a day. That's a striking number that not too many people think about. Thankfully, there's a company that is, and they're not just thinking about it, they're doing something about it. Join me today as I find out how one couple's greatest challenge became their greatest source of inspiration. I'm Melissa Chatane, and this is Breaking Through. I'm Melissa Chatane, TV personality and fashion stylist. I'm traveling from coast to coast, meeting with entrepreneurs who have faced adversity and have come out the other side with their groundbreaking brands. This is Breaking Through, only on Shopflix. Meet Ben and Sara, the founders of Hugh and Grace, a skincare brand providing a chemical-free alternative to the chemical-laden skincare products out there that are leaving a lingering effect on our hormone levels. But before we get into the world of Hugh and Grace, I wanted to get into the world of Ben and Sara. Before we get into your skincare line, Hugh and Grace, I would love to learn about how you met about over 20 years ago.
Yeah, so we met in college. And she loves to tell this story. She makes it far more interesting than I do. But
So Ben was friends with my boyfriend, and we'd go on double dates together, me and my boyfriend and the girl that Ben was taking out. And we probably went on 3 or 4 double dates together. And one day I learned that my boyfriend was dumping me to start dating the girl Ben was going out with. So we both got dumped. And so I saw Ben. I'm like, Ben, we should go out just to spite them. And 2 years later, they got married. And 4 years later, we got married. And everyone's still married.
we're still showing them.
Yes, that's probably the best decision ever. But something obviously drew you two together.
We had built this friendship, and then that happened, and it just kind of sparked a natural transition to go out. And we dated off and on for 4 years, including a long distance relationship when she was living in Sweden. You know, it was a long time, but we at the end of it, we came together. We kind of worked through all that stuff and got married. Started our lives in Las Vegas, my hometown.
And so they set their sights on a lifetime of big love and a big family. But that dream would prove to be a harder and longer journey than either Ben or Sara could have ever imagined. Look, while you were family planning and things weren't happening very quickly, at what point were you realizing things weren't happening quickly?
It was the first few months, because I was so young. So a lot of our friends who were trying were getting pregnant, because they were mid-20s. I remember thinking, I think after even like the 3rd month, I'm like, okay, what's wrong? Like, what? Okay, ovulation strips. And I went to the doctor, and she's like, it was just my OBGYN, but she's like, you're young, you're healthy, this is your family history, you're good. And so.
Well, yeah, and then years went by.
Yep, and then we started, going to the fertility doctors, which is also kind of scary because you're spending so much money. It's
not cheap.
No, it's not cheap at all. But it's weird when you go through it. You don't think about it, but like for 2 weeks, you're planning and you're doing everything and right. I was altering my life. I used to be an ultra marathoner. I stopped running because the doctor told me the running chicken didn't lay the eggs. Who knows if that's true or not, but I stopped running. I hate needles. I was doing acupuncture 3 times a week. We were looking at our diets. We were doing a lot of therapy. And it was just, so you plan for 2 weeks, you try, you have intercourse, and then the 2-week wait is terrible, and then you have your period and it doesn't work, and then you're just depressed. And then also during that time, especially when I was going through my fertility treatments, my hormones were a mess because they want to manipulate your hormones to get to certain levels.
We felt the shame. In particular, Sara, she took it all on and took it all in. And that raises stress and raises anxiety and raises fear and anger and all these things. And eventually, we shared. Sara shared, and it turned out to be she shared with a family member her struggle, our struggle, and it turned out to be the most important conversation of her life, I think.
But while family was their dream, they were being denied. It also turned out it would be their hope. During a family hike at the Grand Canyon, a conversation with Ben's sister Jenna changed everything.
Yeah, she said, "Oh, you guys want kids?" And I said, we've been trying for 10 years. And nothing's worked, and we just don't know what to do. And right there, she said, I'll be your surrogate. And I didn't think she was serious, first of all. And I just said, that's so nice of you. That is so nice of you to say. And she's like, no, we're family. This is, I'm happy to do this for you, but I didn't think she was serious. I didn't tell Ben about it.
Literally didn't tell me.
And she had, never had any issues getting pregnant. When you're going through fertility, like there's a lot of things you have to do. And so came home, didn't think twice about it. The next week I got a call from her, actually a text from her that said, okay, I've talked to my kids, my husband, did a lot of research, and we are so excited to do this for you. And I called Ben and I said, Jenna has volunteered to be our surrogate.
Jenna became Ben and Sara's surrogate, but this was just the beginning of the trials and tribulations.
It's not like in the movies. It's not like how they make it seem. But once she did get pregnant and things were moving forward, things took a turn, and you got an unfortunate phone call that put things into perspective. Can you unpack that?
Yeah.
The phone call that changed it all?
We decided to go forward with surrogacy, and we were, as Sara said, we were in awe that Jenna would do this, and that her husband would too, and that her children would make the sacrifice. It was so many layers to it. But I got a call while I was at work from Jenna, and she never called me. She and Sara talked every day, and they went through it together. But I get a call from Jenna, so I stepped away. I picked it up, and she's crying on the other end of the phone, and she's almost hysterical. She's saying, 17 weeks pregnant. She's saying, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And I said, "Jenna, what are you sorry about?" And she said, "I'm in the hospital. I don't know why. I'm bleeding. I'm hemorrhaging. I'm so sorry." And initially, my heart dropped. I'm worried about my baby, and then I'm also worried about Jenna, and I just assume it's going to be okay. And I say, "Look, Jenna, you take care of you. We can make more embryos." and I kind of tried to joke a little bit, but she was really upset. And then I picked Sara up. We got in the car, and we both looked at each other and just absolutely broke down. Drove home barely.
And then after almost 48 hours, Jenna was still hemorrhaging, and they said that we may be losing Jenna as well.
That amount of guilt that you must have felt at the time that you put
and selfishness. Like literally, we were sitting there saying, this was generous of her, and we thought it was a beautiful gesture, but we never really thought we could actually be leaving a husband and 2 children without a wife and mother. And it was the heaviest moment in my life, for sure. And I felt so, that was terrible.
Guilty, selfish, upset, angry, and then we couldn't do anything.
Miraculously, she came through it. And then she went to full term, and we had to take our son, Hugh, early because he was on course to be a 10-pound baby.
When he was born, first of all, I was absolutely elated. I ran over, so they took Hugh over to a warmer and rubbing him down. And so Ben and I went over and made sure 10 fingers, 10 toes, looked at him. And then Ben stayed there, and I ran back to Jenna. Because I'm like, here she is, this person, is suffering and going under surgery, and I need to be there with her. And so I let Ben have time with Hugh, and I went back and held Jenna's hand, talked to her, and made sure to see how she was feeling.
She gave you a beautiful gift, and you want to give her love and thank her and comfort her. It's beautiful.
She was amazing. While we're there, we're holding our baby. She's literally on a gurney. They've got her arm out here with the IVs, and Jenna does. And she takes the camera, and she's taking pictures of us with our baby.
What a thoughtful.
I mean, I'm just like, are you kidding me? They're like stitching her up. She's like, here, I'll take a picture.
Okay, she's like next level Wonder Woman.
No.
I don't know.
And she's so humble, and she won't take any praise for it. I mentioned that she was my stepsister, and my mother had remarried to a man who had grown and married children. All of her children almost all were grown and married. But now we came together in a way that has bonded our family very, very differently and distinctly. In fact, our son's name, Hugh, is named after Jenna's great-grandfather as a tribute.
Yeah. The name Hugh means heart, mind, and spirit. And it was to honor her family by having it named after her grandfather, but also we love the meaning of the name.
I love that.
Ben and Sara got their beautiful baby boy.
they had their family, but the surprises kept coming. Except this time, the surprises weren't the ones to fear, but the ones to embrace with beautiful open arms.
So I told you we were very private about our fertility struggle, and we actually told Jenna, but we didn't even tell my family that we were having a baby until Jenna was in her second trimester. So I remember calling, and I'm the oldest, and I called my sister who was directly below me, who was always closest with growing up, and I said, we're having a baby, and Ben's sister is our surrogate. And I was worried that she would judge me, because we'd also been somewhat competitive growing up. But the first word she said, she's like, how come you didn't tell me? She's like, I would have. First she said, how come you didn't ask me? She's like, I would have done this for you. And I said, we could never ask anyone to do this. This doesn't just impact you. It impacts your husband, your kids, everyone. And she said, well, it's amazing that Jenna did this. And then after, when he was almost a year old, got a call one day from my sister. And she said, I've been thinking about this. And she's like, I want to give Hugh a sibling. And I want to be your next surrogate. Because we had a few more embryos. And she's like, I know how close we were growing up. And I want the chance to try to give Hugh a sibling, which was absolutely incredible.
That's right, another sister, another surrogate, and 9 months later, Hugh had his sister, Grace. After years of unimaginable physical and emotional trauma, Ben and Sara finally got the family they always dreamed of, thanks to their family.
You know, I had gone through multiple rounds of IVF already, and my hormones were crazy. And the doctor said, at one point, he's like, how about this round, you avoid eating sweet potatoes, because sweet potatoes, while they're healthy for you, they can have an estrogenic effect and they can alter your hormone levels. And we were just trying so many things to get my hormones just perfect. So, and also with IVF, you're getting your hormone levels checked almost daily. And I came home and told Ben, I'm like, sweet potatoes? And we thought,
what else?
if sweet potatoes can impact our hormones, what else was out there? And because we were struggling with unexplained infertility, we were just looking for so many reasons because no one could find an answer. And so we did a lot of research, and we learned about these chemicals that are called hormone-disrupting chemicals that impact your hormones, but they're found in almost everything, but they're found in most personal care products, and including clean and non-toxic products. Everyone knows about toxins, but we never knew about these hormone-disrupting chemicals. And hormone-disrupting chemicals actually impact your hormones, which impact your entire body.
Everything.
So let me get this straight. Hormone-disrupting chemicals, these are things that people wouldn't think of. Some of the hormone-disrupting chemicals that I learned about through looking at your website could even be like tea tree oil and lavender. Like, these are things that don't necessarily affect you immediately, but as they are stored in your skin and body, they can affect you long term. So how did this put you on a journey to Hugh and Grace?
What we learned is that these, a lot of stuff that we put on willingly, maybe unknowingly, has chemicals in it that can impact the way our bodies function. So our endocrine system, it's actually, the term is endocrine-disrupting chemicals, EDCs is what you see, but they're hormone disruptors. These our hormones control our body down to a cellular level. It tells us when we're hungry and tired, regulates mood, regulates bodily function, reproduction, weight, muscle mass, and we kind of forget about that. For us, when we were thinking of hormones, all we were thinking about is testosterone, estrogen. This makes babies, and what we've learned as we've had these conversations is there are several key developmental times at pretty much every stage of life, from in utero, from pre-in utero when you're trying to get pregnant to pregnancy, to early childhood development, and then you have a very key time during teenage years when teenagers are putting chemicals all over themselves. They're spraying themselves with everything. I know I did. When we started looking at this and saying, this isn't just an infertility issue. This is an issue that affects everyone. And when your hormones get disrupted and they get out of balance over time, there are correlations with cancers. There are correlations with significant diseases and disorders.
Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, obesity, strokes.
Well, Ben and Sara open up their heart to me about their personal journey. The least I can do is open up a bottle or 3 with me and my French sommelier friend with a little wine tasting.
Yeah, even people saying, like you're talking about what to look for, like with skincare. I look at that. People say they don't, I like this product, but I don't even know what it does for me or what it's doing to you. Yeah. And so as outsiders and comparing wine to skincare, it's just, I love these comparisons where you're saying, this is the experience.
These producers spend their lives and generations refining and blending and taking natural ingredients and taking them and making the very best that they can. And so when we said we need to do something to talk about our experience and our lack of knowledge of hormone disruptors and endocrine-disrupting chemicals, and how could we approach this? Well, we decided, let's start with the skin. What goes on your body gets in your body. That was the premise. Your skin's the largest organ in your body. So how do we address it? And we look, and most of the products on the market are either some natural, lots of chemicals, it's cheaper, it's easier to formulate with chemicals. That's why there's $5 bottles of wine, because you can produce mass, you use pesticides, you do everything else. It's not about crafting. And then we said, what if we could take natural elements, natural products and oils, and leave out all of the chemicals and the preservatives and really just craft them together? And we sought out experts and green chemists, and we spent a ton of time and effort going around the country meeting people, and really that was our mission, our goal. How can we take some of these elements where you're blending and crafting together natural products, natural substances, and coming out with something that's amazing? And that ultimately is what led us to Hugh and Grace.
I love it, and that's why it makes it delicious.
And that story was way too long to have an undrank glass of wine.
Cheers, guys.
It's incredible to hear how the story of the family and the brand are intertwined. Sara and Ben faced heartache after heartache and persevered to not only have their beautiful children, but to create a company that will help people facing problems like theirs and beyond. That type of determination allowed them to break through all of their obstacles and come out on top, stronger than ever.
One of the biggest personal takeaways from this whole experience, we have a family and we're incredibly fortunate, and there are so many people who don't have this option. They don't have the means for surrogacy, and adoption's incredibly expensive. It's not easy. And so I have to say that, because this story told the wrong way is a fairy tale for a lot of people. But if it's shared in the way that we hope it's received, we learned that when we are vulnerable and when we share and when we open our mouths, other people connect and other people come together. And as a result of that moment of vulnerability and recognizing that we're not perfect and just letting people see the real person that you are, we have a family because of that.
If you'd like to learn more about Hugh and Grace, head to their website, hughandgrace.com. And if you'd like to grab some products for yourself, just click on the bottom of your screen.
I'm Melissa Chatane. Thank you for watching Breaking Through.